Welcome into the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. On today's show, we are talking about potential replacement options for Ravens offensive coordinator Greg Roman. And I know a lot of you are smiling right now by me just delivering those words. We'll get to them in just one moment. Before we do, Ravens taking on the Steelers this week. You know, we badly want to see the Ravens win on the football field, and they're desperate to win this week. But we want to also beat the Steelers off the football field as well. And Steelers Talk is hosted by this goofy, tall-looking dude named Jack Sperry. And I cannot be losing sub-battles to that guy. I mean, it's one thing to see how the game goes Sunday. I am not responsible for what happens there. But I cannot be losing to that tall, goofy dude, Jack Sperry. And so let's do our parts, and basically we need to give him the treatment that Ray Lewis gave Ben Roethlisberger over the years. Okay? Think of it that way. So subscribe to the channel now. Let's get to 8,000 subs by the end of the week. Do your part. We'll get there. YouTube.com/RavensTV. Replacing Greg Roman. I know a lot of you are pretty happy when I mentioned that possibility. At the time of this taping, Greg Roman is a candidate for the Stanford head coaching job, and his name is also being thrown around for potential other vacancies when it comes to coordinators that are being looked at and maybe some head coach opportunities on the college football level of some sorts. But for the Ravens, I think this marriage is going to end here sooner rather than later. Whether Roman takes the Stanford job or not, I don't think he's going to be back with the Baltimore Ravens next year. And, I mean, I'll say this. I don't think Greg Roman's a bad coach. We saw what he did running this offense in, 2019 when they had the number one ranked scoring offense in the NFL. He's shown some good signs before in the past, but that time has come and gone, essentially. And it's time for a new chapter, someone else to adapt to the personnel that Baltimore has. And Greg Roman has just not kept up with the Joneses, no pun intended, for this Ravens offense of where they should be. And I think it's time to reinvent this thing and have a new voice in that locker room to lead the way. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. You look at the numbers. Since 2019, they've only been worse ever since. Took a step back in 2020. Took a major step back last year. This year better, but still not great. 12th scoring offense in the league with the most explosive quarterback in all of football, Lamar Jackson. That's not acceptable here. So before we get into the names, should the Ravens fire Greg Roman? I think I know the answer. But let's say that he doesn't get the Stanford job. And if he wants to come back next year, if you're Eric DeCosta, if you're John Harbaugh, you saying it's time to go? If you think so, type HY for hell yes. If not, type HN for hell no. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. HY for hell yes, HN for hell no. Let me know in the comment section below. So let's begin in-house with a couple of options with the Baltimore Ravens. One of those is T. Martin. And T. Martin, I think his name is going to come up for other possible offensive coordinator jobs around the NFL. I think T. Martin is going to be a very popular name, and he's a younger guy too, and was a college football legend. And I would wonder if he got the opportunity to lead this Ravens offense, would they air it out more? Would we see more of a college attack? I wonder. Or would it stay the same? That's when I look at him or James Urban, either one of in-house options, I wonder of how much the offense would change. I think if you're Baltimore, realistically speaking, whether it's T. Martin or if you go the other route with James Urban, who we have as another candidate on our board as well here, I think that both of these guys, you wonder if they'd be willing to change the system. Because the truth of the matter is, with where things are at, it's not good enough, right? I think you need a wholesale system change. Whether you go with T. Martin or James Urban, if one of these guys who are in-house options, and we'll throw James Urban on the screen here too so you can see, Um, Either one of these guys, if you are John Harbaugh and you're Eric DeCosta, I think you're pointing to them and saying, like, hey, if you're going to take the job, this can't be the same system that's in place. You got to do something different because what's going on right now isn't working, okay? So I think those guys deserve the right to be interviewed and deserve the right to be considered, but the status quo, that ain't it. I can tell you that right now. So if you move on from Greg Roman, if you stay with somebody in-house, you can't be content with who you are. You got to do something different. So that's what I wonder. That's my skepticism with those two guys is would they just continue to do what the Ravens are already doing? I don't know, to be honest. So with that, what should the Ravens do if they move on from Greg Roman? Should they stay within with some of those internal options, or should they go outside? I'm going to go over my outside options for the Ravens in just a moment to be the next offensive coordinator. But I want to know from you, do you like the idea of one of those guys that's already there, or do you like the idea of hiring from the outside? To me, I lean towards hiring on the outside. Not a knock on T. Martin, but that's where I lean towards. Let me know what you lean towards. W from within, O for the outside. Let me know in the comments section below. Got a great deal we're offering Ravens fans right now. It is our jersey collection of players from the past and the present. Whether you want to rock out with your flock out representing Marcus Williams or Lamar Jackson, maybe Mark Andrews, maybe even Ray Lewis or Odafe Owe. All of these guys, we have their jerseys in all shapes and sizes, different colors. I mean, the Ravens have some of the best jerseys in football. And Christmas, folks, is just around the corner. Might as well get yours now, right in time for the holiday season. Makes for a great gift for a loved one or friend or whatever it may be, whatever you're looking for. We have them all in one place. Get your Ravens jersey today at chatsports.com/RavensJersey. That's chatsports.com/RavensJersey. All right, now let's dive into the outside options. Number one is Bill O'Brien, the Alabama offensive coordinator, and a very familiar name around the National Football League is, of course, he was the former head coach and general manager of the Houston Texans, also was the OC for the New England Patriots. And, you know, Bill O'Brien, you can't discredit Bill O'Brien that he's a very good offensive mind. Now, he tore apart that Houston Texans team without question. He is the biggest one to blame for that franchise falling apart and, you know, what they all went through. There's no question about that. I'll give you that much. But if I'm just asking Bill O'Brien to be my play caller and to put the system in place, he knows the game, and he's done it well at a high level. He is a good play caller. I'm not asking him to be my GM. Hell, I'm not even asking him to be my head coach. As an OC, to me, that could make sense. And what we've seen over time, too, is that when you have these guys that are in the college ranks but have NFL experience, it feels like they always want to get back in. So, despite Bill O'Brien being under Nick Saban, and I would think he's probably learned a thing or two at the Nick Saban coaching rehab camp, that I would think that he's probably become a better coach now than what he was when we last saw him in Houston. So Bill O'Brien's a name. Todd Monken, speaking of college ranks, the OC at Georgia. Todd Monken coached at the NFL level, and we've seen him be successful with his Georgia offense. I mean, you think about it. Stetson Bennett, Georgia's quarterback, wins the national title last year. He's a Heisman finalist this year, and he might not even get drafted. That's how well Todd Monken has gotten out of Stetson Bennett over the last 2 seasons. And the thing that I love most about Todd Monken, and I think would be a good fit for this Ravens team, you look at what Todd has done in the National Football League or at the college level, even back to his days when he was an OC at Oklahoma State. Todd has always done a tremendous job of adapting to his personnel. If they need to be a run-heavy team, they run the football. They pound the rock. If they can throw it across the yard all day, they'll throw it across the yard all day. If they need to run up-tempo and a no-huddle offense, he'll do that. If they need to slow it down, he adapts to his personnel. And look, with this Ravens team next year, we don't know who they're going to bring in. We don't know if they're all of a sudden going to have all these weapons at the receiving core, if they're going to look like what they are this year. That remains to be seen. But I think Todd Monken would get the very most out of this Ravens offense if he were to make the move up to the NFL level and be the Ravens OC. And then a former head coach that is available, that is Frank Reich, who was just fired from the Indianapolis Colts, former OC in Philadelphia. And Frank Reich, I think if you're talking about an NFL guy with NFL experience, really this year didn't end well, but here was somebody that I was still impressed with of the last few years of having to deal with these journeyman quarterbacks ever since Andrew Luck left, and the offense was still putting up points. The offense was still moving the football, even with the hand that they were dealt. And, Frank Reich, he signed up for the Colts job to coach Andrew Luck. And look who he got stuck with the last few years. And the offense was still pretty productive on that front. So with all that said, of the 5 options there, if I make the call, the guy I'm hiring is Todd Monken out of Georgia. For the very reasons I just stated, of the way that he adapts. He's got the NFL experience. And I think with Lamar, you almost have to treat him like a college quarterback to some extent. With his skill set and what he brings to the table, I think you can run a Todd Monken college-level offense of some sorts and bring that to the NFL to get the most out of Lamar Jackson. But I do think that he can adapt, and we'll see what the personnel presents, but that's who I'd be calling right now. I'd be calling Todd Monken of Georgia to be the next OC, and we'll see what he does if he can help lead the Bulldogs to another national title as they're part of the college football playoff. What say you? Who should be the Ravens' next OC if Greg Roman is out? Who should be the next guy? Let me know in the comments section whether it was one of the 5 names we mentioned or someone else we did not mention on today's show. Let me know in the comments section who you think should be the next OC for the Ravens. As always, follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live, and I will see you right here next time here on the Ravens Rundown. Thanks for joining us.